For holiday meals, as well as everyday items. Stop by your local grocery outlet today. Save big this holiday season and bring home some holiday cheer.
Grocery outlet, bargain market.
With the holidays in full swing, join in the festivities at Lowe's Winterfest. Start by getting $20 off a Craftsman 20-volt max drill kit. Was $79, now $59. Or Blackstone Riddles with an everyday low price starting at $149. Make more holiday at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. Valid through 12/15 while supplies last. U.S. only.
Hello.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm W.L. Schlepsky, Esquire. Schlepsky, Fiddlewink, and Pearl. My car.
You're a lawyer.
Yes, and I'm serving S&G Carpet with a cease and desist.
For what?
Unfair pricing.
What?
Isn't S&G offering up to 35% off select carpet, waterproof core, hardwood, and laminate this month?
During our Christmas clearance sale, yeah, but we're not going to stop.
Well, then here, I've got a restraining order.
Sorry?
Then a parking ticket. Let's wait, hold on, that's mine.
Look, our customers love S&G's Christmas clearance sale. It's the most wonderful sale of the year.
Because S&G can install new flooring and customers can save up to 35%?
Or customers can buy just the materials and do it themselves.
They can't just buy the material.
Yes, they can.
They can't? Really? Well, then you'll be hearing from my lawyer.
You are a lawyer.
Yeah, well, oh, yeah, I am, aren't I? Okay.
During S&G Carpet's Christmas clearance sale, save up to 35% off select clearance-priced flooring. Plus, get S&G's no-surprise guarantee and promise to beat any written estimate by 10%. S&G, more than carpet. Go to sgcarpet.com for the showroom nearest you or to have their mobile showroom come to you.
You shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Get extra strong for your South Pole. Charmin keeps your undies whiter than the North Pole. Shiny, hiney, a brand new year. Come with us, Charmin. Happy New Year. May your holidays be Charmin, clean, merry, and bright. May all your undies be Charmin, clean white.
Charmin Ultra Strong just cleans better. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Time is near. Time for toys and time for cheer.
Get out of the swim spa.
It's Cal Spas of Sacramento's year-end sale. You save the dough. Get a sleigh full of savings. Up to 2,000 off hot tubs. Up to 5,000 off swim spas. And 500 off saunas. Plus thousands in free gifts. Cal Spas, American-made for over 43 years and awarded industry best by Consumer Affairs. Give the gift the whole family will love. Cal Spas of Sacramento, Highway 50 and Bradshaw.
And we have incredible deals sure to make every day of the season magical in your home. This week, T-bone steaks are just $6.99 a pound in the Max Pack. And 35-count packs of Sunny Select drinking water are just $2.99 each. Limit 2. The real magic is at home for the holidays with Save Mart. Valley Fresh, Valley Made, Valley Proud.
Made in one historic distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, barrel-aged for 7 years with a 9-year record of winning gold medals and 2 decades of craftsmanship. It's a distinctly different kind of bourbon. 1792. Untypical. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly.
Unwind from your daily routine with Vicks Vapo Bath or Vicks Vapo Shower. And let those soothing Vicks Vapors help you relax. Enjoy a Vicks Vapo moment wherever you choose. Look for Vicks Vapo Bath and Vicks Vapo Shower in a store near you.
By choosing treatment, you choose family, your career, and your life on your terms. Choose more for yourself and choose Change California. Find a medically proven treatment option that's right for you at choosechangeca.org.
Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call. And teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T has given everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
This report is sponsored by... This is your moment. Take it. If you're a new mother welcoming a baby into your family, paid family leave can provide you up to 8 weeks of partial wage replacement. To learn more, visit CaliforniaPaidFamilyLeave.com. Moments matter.
At Ashley Home Store and enjoy 50% off store-wide. That's right, 50% off. Plus, enjoy 60 months interest-free financing. See store for details. Ashley Home Store. This is home. AshleyHomestore.com.
Being able to reach them in the first place. Your spot is out there. Find your frontier in the all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier. With best-in-class standard 310 horsepower, advanced tech, and 281 pound-foot of torque.
show. My name is Charlton with Big C Sports. This is Charlton with Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to everybody who loves sports, it's all fair and level war. Today is a beautiful December the 10th, 2021. Grando Deportes, Bonjour, de Vidi Vidi Vici. Welcome to the show. I love bringing you Big C Sports. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade. When you go by and test drive yours, just tell them that Charlton Big C Sports sent you. It's all fair and level war. I want to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports all around the world on 20. Now, I've got to get some praise for that. On 20 podcast applications all over the universe. Really appreciate that. 20 podcast applications from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, CastBox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Pod Chaser. Yeah, you know what's up. I still got to catch my breath because it's hard to count to 10. It's hard to count to 10. You try it sometime. Also, you can follow Big C Sports on Geo Savannah out of London, England, Podtail Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Hubhopper Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line Podcast, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, and also Podcast Wise. That means you got to be wise to follow Big C Sports. I was expecting that to happen in 2022, but they've jumped on and accepted Big C Sports Podcast onto their platforms for already 2021. So I guess it's an early Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. And all that good old boy stuff. Really do appreciate everything that's happened with Big C Sports. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on 4 TV applications from Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that when you follow Big C Sports all over the world. Give that some praise. 4 TV platforms, streaming TV, Big C Sports, and 20 podcast applications. Really do appreciate that. It's all fair and love and war. I love paying homage to my family legacy, especially for the holidays. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mamo, and then my great-grandfather called him Pop, former Negro League baseball player, well known for always saying, boy, get out of that barn. Now I understand why. Known for making the best moonshine in the universe. That's what I understand. That's why he's always said, boy, get out of that barn. And then my grandmother called her Mud Deer, very wonderful person, very intelligent, hardworking. And then my grandfather, Hezekiah, 2 great people. And then my beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program in Northern California and helped win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give that some praise. Start a Head Start program and win the Little League Championship. I guess you recruited a lot of those Head Start program kids. Always say rise and shine. I really do appreciate that. On my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor, had 2 churches in Oakland, California, built a 3rd church in Central California, and also had 2 service stations in Oakland, California, along with my grandmother, Alberta Curry, helping to run the churches, also the stations, and did everything to keep the family strong. And my father, retired Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic of the United States Air Force Academy. Really do appreciate that. Along with my brother, Todd, with a bombastic voice, sound like a thunder and lightning when he would speak at times. Really do appreciate that. And my son, Malcolm, college kid, very intelligent, all over the NBA, knows NBA inside and out. Really appreciate the way Steph Curry shoots the ball. And my beautiful daughter helping set up programs for coaches when they would come to the West Coast. Really do appreciate that. And then Big C with his wealth of knowledge. Give it all some praise. Really do appreciate all of that. It's all fair and level war. I love Big C Sports Podcast. Now in 20 podcast applications and 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate that. All fair and level war. You know, I also want to say, as they say, let's get ready to rumble. There's a lot of football happening. FB-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. No scripts, no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. All I do is my higher self and the help of God. I produce the show. I direct all the topics. I broadcast every show. I do, for the most part, I do all the sound effects when my podcast application is working fine. It's all fair and level where I'm doing all at that as well. And then I do the commercials outside of what the agency does, as well as doing all the stats providing in the storytelling. And what I love coming up, Steph Curry's trying to break his own 3-point shooting record, and I'm hoping that he'll get it done actually when they play the New York Knicks. I don't know what's going on with the Indiana game. I know they're playing Philadelphia on the road, and then they have a game with Indiana. But I know there were some players that missed out of practice with those programs because of, I guess they were trying to take care of some COVID issues that happened. But then I want to bring it back to when the W play-by-play, hopefully at Madison Square Garden, Steph Curry for 3! If he can break the record in Madison Square Garden, I talked about it yesterday, that would be great. And then I upload the podcast. It goes out to 20 podcast applications all over the universe. 20, give that some praise. 20 is a lot. Started with 1 back at Salem Media back in 2015, so I really do love the growth with Big C Sports Podcast. And then it uploads to 20 applications. It goes all over the world, and then been doing that since Big C Sports Podcast started September 12th, 2015. Some of the favorite verses that I love saying is Genesis 13:15. But God said, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever." In the book of James, chapter 4, verse 2, said, "We have not because we ask not." So if you want something, make sure you ask. And when you ask and give God the praise, is all fair in love and war, the only sports show in the universe that gives God praise on a daily basis. I also want to make sure, before I get into the high school Friday night lights, a lot of state championship games are going on all over the country, especially in California. I want to make sure I pay homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, any veteran is going through issues, even civilians that pick up the phone and ask for help. It's 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. I hear they will stand on their head to make sure that everybody gets the help. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and make sure our veterans get some help. Give them some praise. Our first responders deserve a lot of praise. Want to make sure they get the recognition that they truly deserve. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phone and say, "Play Big C Sports Podcast," or all of your smart devices. You'll see us pop up somewhere all over the world. Had a Dream on ESPN for 2022. You can find us on so many different applications. Really do appreciate that. I also want to pay homage to my real estate friends, valleyhomesweekly.com. No matter what part you are in the country, in your neck of the woods, go to the nationalrealestatepost.com to find out what's going on with real estate. If you want to know what's going on with mortgages all over the country, go to mortgagedailynews.com. Or if you simply need more information, call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And give real estate some praise. Give it all praise. All fair and love and war. Find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. My goodness, we had a lot of good things happening in the world of sports. I'm telling you, tonight is all over the country. But in California, I know we're crowning our high school football champions, state champions, Friday night and Saturday night. So I wish all the teams in California the best of everything. And I know that Mater Dei of Santa Ana, they've been wire to wire, #1 ranked in the country. We'll see if they can knock off Sarah High School of San Mateo on Saturday night down in Southern California. So wishing everybody the best. #1, Mater Dei of Santa Ana. They are 11-0. #2, Westlake of Austin, Texas. They are 14-0. #3, Collins Hill from Swaty, Georgia, 14-0. #4, Virgin Catholic out of Ordale, New Jersey. They are also 12-0. I have #5, St. Francis Academy, Baltimore, Maryland. They are 8-1. Season's already completed. The reason they only play 9 games is they couldn't find a lot of teams to play them. #6, South Lake Carroll out of South Lake, Texas. And they are 14-0. #7, Katy High School, also out of Texas. A lot of undefeated programs in Texas, followed by #8, Servite High School of Anaheim. They are 10-3, part of the Trinity League, lost twice to Mater Dei and once to St. John Bosco. And then they also beat St. John Bosco, which is ranked #9 in the country, at 10-2 on the season. And then the final team I'm going to pull up for Big C's Friday Night Lights is #13, which is Centennial, Corona, California. They're actually 11-1. And their only loss came to #1 ranked Mater Dei. So I want to give all the high school kids some praise. Love giving them all praise. I want to also say, we got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? A lot of teams will cheer those chants. I love doing the PSA. I heard today there's going to be a lot of rain hitting Northern California on Sunday evening and into Monday. And I want to just encourage for all of the high school kids that want to go out and play football, please do not let your friends drink and drive. I know it's a PSA that people say, yeah, I already know that. But there's so many people that have their whole lives ahead of them. If they could just have someone else take the keys, or you can even call Uber. You don't have to take the keys and drive a car. If you don't have to let your friends drink and drive. I know people say, I can do what I want to do. I'm a grown person. I'm 17. But if we could just do that one thing, I would love to see if we as a country with mothers, I think it's called MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driver, if we can just figure that out, how we can tell young people, you have your whole life ahead of you. There's no need to go out and do anything, get behind the wheel of a car if you've had something to eat. It doesn't make any sense. Or something to drink. And I said eat because there's a lot of people that do different edibles now, and they think, oh, that's not a drink, that's not an alcohol, but it is. If it can impair your driving, you don't need to do that. So that's my cry to a lot of the kids out there, that you can be the designated driver. If you can't do it, you can pick up the phone, you can call a parent, you can call Uber, you can call whatever you want to do. But do yourself a favor, please. If you know anyone that's going to drink and drive, pick up the keys or pick up the phone and call someone. Call a family. You can do that. It's not that hard. There's CHP checkpoints tonight. And they're in California. And there's some people who are going to get tagged because they're going to drink. And I know people say, well, I can deal with it on my own. No, you can't. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, there were 900 arrests in California alone. 900 DUIs. And people would think we have heard that message enough, but I just want to do my part with Big C Sports to get it out there. So please, if you're going to drink, please don't drive. Pick up the phone, call Lyft, call Uber, call a friend, even a parent. And I know some parents are the ones giving the liquor to their kids, but don't let it happen to you. You got your whole life ahead of you. So for all the designated drivers, I want to give you all some praise on Big C Sports. If you're a designated driver, you get some praise. Let's cheer for you that you make the winning score. Take the keys, do whatever you got to do. I want to get into some football. We have a lot of football coming up, and I love the game of football. We have so many big games that I want to talk about as we preview NFL football and the previews for Week 14 coming up. We know we had a game last night in Minnesota. What a crowd. What a comeback in that game. The Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers played a game for the ages. But if you went to sleep at halftime, you didn't see the comeback that the Steelers had. And you didn't see Dalvin Cook run for 206 yards in a game. Still has a bum chest. He has a chest bruise or a chest tear, but he was able to fight through that. And the Minnesota Vikings, with that raucous crowd in that dome of a stadium, and they still keep themselves in position for a playoff run. Pittsburgh, they have to, I think Tomlin said they're going to overturn every stone. There's be no stone unturned. They had a good comeback. If they could just play the first half, the way they played the second half, then the Steelers would probably have at least 3 more wins. If I think about the game against the Chargers, when they fell behind and came back, they also had a tie with the Detroit Lions, and they did the same thing last night with the Vikings. But Dalvin Cook, 206 yards. When you think about that guy, just coming off of an injury, Dalvin Cook and the Vikings had a thrilling 36-28 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm telling you, there's something about that running back that can lay down on the grass in San Francisco and then get back up a couple weeks later, and he's running for 206 yards. I'm telling you, that guy, it reminds me so much of Chuck Foreman back in the days of the Purple People Eater. But that's congratulations to anyone, any football player, Dalvin Cook, that can take an injury and get right back up and shake it off and play a lot better. So the Minnesota Vikings, they still have the chance to get their groove back. I don't know how well they're going to compete against the Green Bay Packers, obviously. Green Bay's going to win that division. But you still got the Bears, and the Lions are starting to knock people off too, as the Vikings find out with the Lions knocking them up. So I'm going to get into Week 14 with some NFL football. As I always say, are you ready for some football? Of course you are. I made that everybody stay healthy through this NFL football season. Week 14, the Cardinals, can they sweep the Rams, or can the Buffalo Bills knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions? It's all fair and love and war. I'm going to start with a great game. And if people can think about how great football is, it goes right down to the wire. For those of you who did not want the extra games, the 17 games, it makes every game almost so exciting after week 10. It's amazing. So the Sunday 12 is going to be December 12th. The Dallas Cowboys, they are 8-4 up against the Washington football team. That game is at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. The Cowboys are 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is 48. And Jerry Jones, he knows what it means when he says we're going to win the game. And he's hoping that McCarthy didn't speak the words too soon, the way Jimmy Johnson did back in the day. But when you think about it, it has been a long time to have back-to-back wins over the Eagles and Panthers early in the mid-season for the Cowboys. The Cowboys just need to get their groove back, get their reps together. They have the receiving core healthy now. When they're healthy, they're very formidable. You have, with Randy Gregory and Neville Gilmore returning to the defensive line, the Washington football team, they're a tough team. They've been winning games on the road, maybe in the fashion that no one really expected them to do. And then the Dallas Cowboys coming in, and you still have the Cowboys a 4.5-point favorite against a Washington team that just beat the Las Vegas Raiders, the same team that had defeated the Cowboys just earlier, and that game was in Dallas. Washington went on the road and was able to knock off the Las Vegas Raiders. Sometimes it's hard to say the Oakland Raiders, but they were able to do that. So imagine now that bulletin board material, if you believe that it exists. I don't really think it exists, but if you believe in bulletin board material, they have a little bit of it there. I'm going to go to another game, Tennessee Titans. They're 8-4. They're at the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are just 2-10 on the season. That's at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the Titans are an 8.5-point favorite. And based on how Jacksonville played when they lost to the Rams out at SoFi Stadium, 8.5 might just do it for them. It's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff on CBS Sports. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they are a 2-10 team, and they look worse at times than the record indicates. So how did they ever beat the Buffalo Bills? When you think about that, they haven't been very competitive in most games. Trevor Lawrence has been knocked around like a lot of rookies do, except for Mac Jones. And that includes a Week 5 tilt versus Tennessee back in the Titans' brightest moment when touchdown Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown were available. Those two were going to be absent on Sunday. And I feel that we still don't know who Tennessee is right now. You don't know because that's a team that has been up and down. They got blown out by New England, and they weren't even competitive. And they're a team that at one time held the top record in the NFL, but things change, especially when you don't stay on top of your game. So they'll try to figure that out. And I think about the absence guys of A.J. Brown and touchdown Derrick Henry. I still feel that Tennessee has enough meat on the bone to go on and knock off the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's another game coming up. I don't think it has anything to do with playoff potential, but it does have potentially some big-name quarterbacks. We know Deshaun Watson's not playing, but the Seattle Seahawks, they are 4-8 on the season, and they're going to be at the Houston Texans that are 2-10 on the season at NRG Stadium in Houston. It's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports, and that's going to be Sunday. The Seahawks are 8.5-point favorite. They haven't looked that good on offense. They did play well against the 49ers last week, but the 49ers were knocking on the door and had too many turnovers to win that game. They are going on the road. The over-under is 41, and it looks like something that the Seahawks can probably cover. When you think about the Texans, as Vegas thinks about Tyrod Taylor or David Mills will start, doesn't really matter. Seattle got the groove back by winning against San Francisco. It was at home, but now they travel down to Texas and see if they can get a win. Seattle's offense hardly looks like they were flowing against the 49ers last week. The Texas defense has been quietly improving, and it's difficult to see the Seattle team give away 8.5 points against anyone. But Houston's current home field disadvantage makes it tough to back this team in Texas. Since beating the Jaguars at home in Week 1, the Texans have lost by an average of 14.4 points. So getting 8.5 for Seattle, that's not too much to make them a favorite by that much at NRG Stadium. Another big game in the AFC West. Man, could have been a bigger game than what it is now, but the Kansas City Chiefs, they're 8-4 versus the Las Vegas Raiders at a 6-6. It's at GEHA Field in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. It's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the Chiefs are a 9.5-point favorite. The over-under is 48. Remember, they beat the Raiders 41-14 just a couple of weeks ago, and that was in Las Vegas. I don't see a similar score, but I do see them covering the spread. When you add the field goal, the Raiders' total of Darren Waller suits up. It's that important to their offense. Without the mismatch tonight, it's a tight game for the Raiders. They just can't afford to lose, but they probably will lose. There's little reason to believe that Las Vegas will have enough to keep up with the Kansas City based on what happened last time, because it was a blowout, 41-14. And for the Chiefs' offensive performance in Week 7 came against the Raiders team. That's the team that could get to a Super Bowl. We'll see if they can repeat that type of dominant performance coming up on Sunday. Another game, not a big game, but it's a game nonetheless. New Orleans Saints 5-7 at the New York Jets are 3-9 at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 1:00 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. The Saints are a 5.5-point favorite. The over/under is 43. Now, every Saints preview is a personal review of who is available. The quarterbacks get banged up. Offensive stalwart is Alvin Kamara, left tackle Terran Armstead, and top pass rusher DeMarcus Davenport. They're all looking like they may return. Taysom Hill is on track to start despite the injured finger. And the number one receiver, Deontay Harris, is also suspended. And then Cameron Jordan's decade-long consecutive game streak is in jeopardy on the COVID-19 list. The Jets are also banged up, and everybody's banged up this time of year. But they try to build off one of Zach Wilson's best games. It's tough to do it against the New Orleans defense that likes to blitz a lot. I cannot see New York keeping up with the ground and pound that the Saints can bring with their front four. And I look for the Saints to get the win and maybe even cover that spread of 5.5 points. Here's another big game. It's a big game for more than one reason. It's sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with all this exotic meat. The Atlanta Falcons 5-7 at the Carolina Panthers. And last I checked, a Panther and a Falcon are exotic meats. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. 1:00 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And the Falcons are plus 2.5. The over-under is 42. And you wouldn't expect much of these two matchups of these ranked teams, number 27 and 32, when you think about it, to also match up the playoff contenders. Atlanta and Carolina are only one game out of the 7th wild card spot. So the winner here gets at least another week. It's been an up and down season. I feel that the home team will get this win. That's Carolina. But there's no Christian McCaffrey. Who knows what's going to happen at the quarterback position, because they've been kind of like in and out of lineup depending on who's going to be there, if it's Cam Newton or not. But we'll see what happens. I think Carolina will find a way with their top running defense to get a win over Matt Ryan coming into town. Another big game. That's a real big game in their division. The Baltimore Ravens, they are 8-4, taking on the Cleveland Browns that are 6-6. I would say it's a disappointing season so far for Cleveland. And Baltimore, not as disappointing, but they have so many injuries. It's at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, 1:00 p.m. East Coast time kickoff on CBS Sports. And the Ravens are getting 2.5 in this game. The over-under is 43. And the reason that Ravens are getting 2.5, they have so many injuries now. Cornerback Marlon Humphrey for the season, he's gone. And surprise standout right tackle Patrick McCarry is out for a few weeks. There's reason to believe that they have reached the point of no return from the injury standpoint. Can Superman Lamar Jackson do it all on his own? It's hard to have one man being the person that you give all the credit to, especially if he's predictable having to run the ball a lot. If you blitz him, make him throw the ball downfield, you can test his arm. We'll see if he can come through. I mean, they had a chance to beat Pittsburgh, but the ball was just about a foot away from the receiver catching it to go to overtime and win that game. But Superman Jackson has not played his best in the past 2 months. He's been struggling pretty much against the blitz. When you blitz him, he's having some issues with that. They got to keep the offensive line strong. When you look across the other side of the ball, the Cleveland Browns, coming off of a bye week following their loss to the Ravens, are as healthy as they've been all season, outside of their tight ends. And all of those things factor in to make it for Cleveland to have a chance to put a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson. But I still feel, even with all the injuries, that Superman Lamar Jackson will find a way to help the Baltimore Ravens win that game. I just feel like they will beat Cleveland, but Cleveland has a chance. Their key is blitz, blitz, blitz on defense and run the ball on offense. We'll see if that happens. There's another big game for the Los Angeles Chargers. They are 7-5, and they are on the road taking on the New York Giants that are 4-8. Beg your pardon. That game is going to be at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. but the Giants may have more fans, if that makes sense to you. It's a 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports, and the Chargers are a 10-point favorite. The over-under is 43. And when you think about touchdown Justin Herbert, he's been one of the most impressive quarterbacks since becoming Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, coming out of Oregon for the Chargers. And when you saw what happened in Cincinnati, a lot of people thought it would be a battle with Joe Burrow winning that game. But it was Justin Herbert when they blew out the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this team is fighting their stride, and it's going to carry into this week, especially with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the COVID-19 list. Patrick Graham's competitive Giants defense is built around preventing big plays. They're not going to stop the Chargers from going deep because Herbert's too good with his receivers. It could be a slow burning game in the first half. I think the Chargers in the second half will put this game away. They can't afford to be patient with Daniel Jones likely out and Mike Lennon in concussion protocol. Jake Fromm from State Farm is in the lineup at quarterback. It's all fair level war. But I really like the Chargers. They're playing a lot better football the latter part of the season than they were in the beginning. They've kind of gone up and down, but they've found their groove back now. Another game coming up. And also the sad news that I don't want to get into the sad news that came out of Georgia, former Denver football player. But I say the Denver Broncos, I know they have heavy hearts. They are 6-6, and they are playing the Detroit Lions. That's an Empower Field in Denver. And Detroit, they are 1-10-1. This game is sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all those exotic meats, as I know the Bronco and the Lions are exotic meats. 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. And Denver's getting 10. They're favored by 10.5, actually 10 points. It was 10.5, and now it's 10. The over-under is 42. I'm telling you, Detroit plays tough football. Just ask the Vikings. Getting 10 is a lot to give them 10 points. I mean, they lost by a field goal to the Baltimore Ravens first game of the season. We saw how they've been neck and neck with a lot of teams. I think Denver wins, but I don't think they cover. 10 points is a lot to give Detroit the way they've been playing, and they got the groove back against the Vikings last week, so that might be a prop bet, sucker's bet there. But I think about more of when you think about picking against the spread in this game. I don't like giving Detroit 10. I think they're going to cover that 10. They'll probably lose, but they'll cover that 10 because they play pretty good football for the most part. When you think about a letdown game for Detroit, I don't think that's going to happen. This team is hungry, and at least they're going to play hard. They even played hard in all of their losses. So there's no reason to have a letdown. I know they're going to be up in mile-high territory, so the lungs might be a little heavy, but this is a team that will battle. They're a 1-10-1 team, but at times they play like they should have won at least 4 games this year. But going back to the Lions bye week, Dan Campbell's squad, they had a chance to win in the closing minutes of 4 straight games, including one that started by Tim Boyle. It takes a above-average team to beat Detroit by 2 scores. These days, I've seen too much evidence to believe that Denver can get 10 points victory on the Detroit Lions. They're just too good a team, in my opinion, to have a 1-10-1 record. But they found their groove. We'll see what happens. A big game that I'm really interested in seeing, if the 49ers can go back to running the football. They had 2 turnovers last week up in Seattle that cost them. They got to just kind of pound the football. 49ers are 6-6, and the Cincinnati Bengals are 7-5. The game's taking place at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports, and the 49ers are a 1.5-point favorite. Cincinnati, they showed they were flat against the Chargers last week. Now, Cincinnati, unlike what they're going to face against the Chargers pass the ball a lot. That's why they kept getting beat downfield. The 49ers are going to pound you with the wrong. They're going to run the game and throw short passes. I think they'll have enough to go in and win. The over-under is 48.5. It hurts to pick against the people that thought the Bengals were going to win the division because they still may. And the quarterback and a team who has a pass the eye test, some weeks they do, some weeks they don't. This team was a couple of bad field goals away from beating Green Bay. But I worry about Joe Burrow, and his offensive line is not healthy. And Cincinnati's depleted offensive line group made the 2021 Chargers look like the 1989 49ers last week. Meanwhile, the Bengals defense still has weaknesses that smart coaches like Kyle Shanahan can and will exploit. Burrow is the better quarterback at this point, throwing the deep ball, but Jimmy G's a better quarterback throwing underneath. That's his strength. Throw underneath. That's what they did when they went to the Super Bowl. And I think he'll do that a lot and get the players involved, whether it's Debo Samuel or Mitchell coming out of the backfield. I think the 49ers can pound the rock. You got Kittles. Keep the short game and trust your defense to put a lot of pressure with Bosa and Armstead, and I think they'll win this game. At the same time, San Francisco is deeper and a little bit tougher on defense, in my opinion. I'm going with the Niners in that game by at least a field goal, maybe even 5 points. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champion. Buccaneers, this is a trap game. They're 9-3. They're taking on the Buffalo Bills that are 7-5. It's at Raymond James Stadium down in Florida. A 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And why is Tampa only getting 3.5? Is something going on that we don't know? The over-under is 53.5. That's weird because not that they're going to have a lot of humidity this time of the year, but Buffalo couldn't even score against New England. And they were at home. So why is it over-under 3.5? That's interesting. You would think that Tampa would have at least a 5-point favorite, maybe even 6. In the aftermath of Monday night's win-shaped loss to New England, the Bills coach Sean McDermott was annoyed with the media and the Patriots seemingly that his own offensive coordinator. McDermott wants a team that can play physically up front, and it's not the type of team that's going to play afraid to throw the ball. They were not throwing the ball enough last week. They threw the ball better in the wind than they did with the wind at their back, but I think Belichick got in his head last week. But this week, I want to see if the Bills can still thrive with a passing attack that throws downfield with Josh Allen. Buffalo should be able to attack Tampa's secondary because they're very difficult to run against. And when you think about it, before losing Mike Evers to suspension, Jordan Whitehead to injury, and Jamel Dean to a concussion, a team built to pass and stop the pass is a perfect one to upset the Buccaneers. But the Buccaneers may be the best passing team in the NFL if you give Tom Brady time. While the Bills are quietly no longer among the top 10, I think their struggles are not about toughness. It's about not being able to trust your quarterback. Let him throw the ball deep because you're not going to run the ball against Tampa. But why are they only 3.5 points? I think their confidence was shaken last week against New England. And for some reason, I don't like why the point spread is so low. I'm going to go with Tampa to win it at home. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be outsmart and outplayed by Josh Allen. And Bruce Arians will have that team ready. But something's going on with the point spread being so close to a team that barely even scored in their home game against the Patriots. And the Patriots just snatched them, ran the ball at will. Tampa with Fournette can run the ball at will too. That's why I'm wondering, something's going on. Why is the point spread so close for a team that had 10 points at home last week to a team that didn't even pass the ball more than 3 times? Brady will pass the ball more than 3 times. You can believe that. So I don't know why the point spread is what it is. But Las Vegas knows something. I'm still going to go with Tampa to get that win. Now, another big game, the Green Bay Packers. They are 9-3, and they're taking on the Chicago Bears that are 4-8. It's at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Should be cold. 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC Sports. And the Packers are a 12.5-point favorite. That seems like a lot, even though Aaron Rodgers has had a lot of success against the Bears. 12.5 is a lot. It really is. The Packers are greater than the sum of their parts, and the parts are getting healthier. Touchdown Aaron Rodgers, his toe should be a little bit better. It didn't stop him against the Rams, so I don't know how the Bears can stay closer than the Rams did when the Rams have a better passing game than what the Bears are going to bring out. But the Bears roster is about to be sold off, and a lot of trades are going to happen with that organization. It's weird that NBC left this game to Sunday Night Football, but it's still that Justin Fields is back, so he's going to be a household name. But he still had to come off some rust from being out for a while. And Andy Dalton was in there for a moment. But I think what helps is that Allen Robinson and Akeem Hicks have returned to practice. Aaron Rodgers, touchdown Aaron Rodgers, getting a little bit better every week, especially that toe. It didn't stop him against the Rams. Still threw for about 300 yards. I don't see how Chicago's secondary can slow him down for 4 quarters now that he's even healthier. So that's a game where the Bears are 12.5-point underdogs. And I know it's hard to give a team a 2-score win, but I'm going to say that Green Bay covers that. At least they should. if Aaron Rodgers is any better than he was last week, and he was good before the bye week in the game against the Rams. Now I'm going to go to Monday Night Football, December 13th. We have the Arizona Cardinals. Some say the best team in the NFL. I'm still saying I'm looking at Green Bay in the NFC in Tampa because their quarterbacks have been there and done that to Super Bowls. I know Arizona's strong. They're very good, very talented. But we'll see what happens if they get to that point of the season. They are 10-2 on the season. The Rams, you got them at 8-4 on the season. The Los Angeles Rams, highly touted team that came in at one point. They were 7-1 on the season. That game is going to be at State Farm Stadium down in beautiful Glendale, Arizona. It's an 8:15 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on ESPN. And the Cardinals are a 2.5-point favorite. Why are they only a 2.5-point favorite at home? And they blew out the Rams in Los Angeles when they played. The over-under is 51.5. I'm worried of a 2.5-point home favorite, the type of team that Vegas is almost begging the public to take, and that's where the line is publishing. Despite Arizona's great resume, complete profile, including their healthier team now, and there's a lot of logic that goes to the Rams, a mostly veteran team, rebounding in the form, but that was against Jacksonville. Look at how they played, and they were swallowed up by a good team like Green Bay, the same Green Bay team that beat the Arizona Cardinals in the desert. So it's hard to sweep a division rival, and Los Angeles has the talent to put it all together, but still winning the game down in the Dome in Arizona would take a lot more luck. And just a thought, Stafford's throwing a couple of interceptions in big games going down the last stretch here, down the back nine, if that makes sense to you. So I'm looking at this game. If the Rams played the way they played when they beat Tampa in week 3, they have a chance. But I don't know if they can down in the desert. I've seen Arizona so many times they run the ball. They're such a physical team offensively. They're a physical team defensively. They put a lot of pressure on you to try to stop what they're doing. And I don't know if the Rams have enough to go down in the desert and win. And I do see 3.5. That's something's going on there. I'm going to say Arizona wins that game by 7. It's all fair and love and war. And it's sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all the exotic meats, because a Cardinal and a Ram are exotic meats. It's all fair and love and war. Give football some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. I'm going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout, and the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 20 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate the growth of Big C Sports. I'm going to get into some college football, the playoffs, the FCS Playoffs 2021. They are here, and they had 24 teams to start, and now it's back to reduced number of teams since they've already had 2 rounds of. I'm going to take it to number 8, the chances to win the FCS championship. I had picked Sacramento State last week, but they were knocked out by South Dakota State. I'm going to start with ETSU's historical season continues after last week's wild win against Kennesaw State. And they are a talented team with standout players in multiple positions, but they're the biggest underdog in the semifinals, going to number 2 seed North Dakota State University. And if they're going to do that, they're going to have to stop the run, because North Dakota State University is a great team when it comes to stopping the run. And if you're gonna beat them, you're definitely going to have to stop the run on that football team. On that football team, there'll be a lot of people in the stands cheering that game on as well for those teams. Now, the Bison, they're a very solid team, so you got to stop the run if you're going to beat them. Number 7, and just the thoughts, Montana State, out of the Big Sky, their push is to try to get into Frisco, Texas, where the Cowboys practice, and that's the state or the site of the national championship for the FCS. But when you think about this football team, Montana State, the Bobcats, if they beat the Bearcats, there's a chance they could host the semifinal against an unseeded South Dakota State University, the team that beat the Sacramento State Hornets last week. But if the Jacks beat number 5 Villanova, then it looks like they're going to have to travel for that game. But it's all fair and love and war. They're a very good football team, Montana State. They were challenging Sacramento State and Montana for the Big Sky Championship. So we'll see what happens. in their matchup coming up this weekend if they can get on and win their second round, or actually their third round game. Number 6 seed is Montana. They've had a tough road to winning a national title. It starts with a trip to James Madison University, one of the hottest teams in the FCS right now. If the Grizzlies can pull off a win, then it would be a game in the Fargo Dome against North Dakota State University, and the odds are stacked against a Frisco, Texas appearance for Montana. I love Montana's home crowd and their home stadium. The defense, despite giving up 41 points to Eastern Washington last week, they're very tough defense. The Eastern Washington had a dynamic attack, but they were still able to get that win. Montana they're tough, but if you get them through the air, you have a chance. And James Madison has maybe just as good of a passing attack as Eastern Washington University. So we'll see if they have a chance to upset James Madison University. Number 5, Villanova, the 5th seed. When quarterback Daniel Smith and running back Justin Covington get rolling, Villanova's a tough team to knock out. They're going along the stout defense, a very physical front against the run. The offense has been a little bit inconsistent at times, and they struggled against Holy Cross. And when you think about it, I think about what this team can do. Villanova at number 4 last week. South Dakota State was number 5. But looking at those teams, they can kind of swap back and forth. I'm still thinking looking forward. If you look at the defense that is played by the Villanova, that can carry them to an upset win if that's what they get. So keeping that in mind, defense wins championships. Offense is always sexy. People want to see high scoring teams, but you got to have a good defense. The Wildcats can put everything together. A national title game is not out of question, especially because defense can win when the weather gets bad. Now, another team that's always on the winning side of things. They have a strong offensive line. They were held scoreless in the second half last week, but they shut out to a 24-0 lead over Sacramento State. South Dakota State University, it's hard to trust them because they've looked like the best team at times in the FCS and in the different parts of the season. They looked like the first half of the Sacramento State game, they were unstoppable. They raced out to 24 points. And then in the last half or the second half of that game, Sacramento State came back and scored 19 unanswered points and also had 2 more scores that got away from them in the end zone. So you never know which South Dakota State team's going to turn up, but they have a big physical offensive line. If they can control the clock, they can beat anybody on a neutral field. I've been going to take South Dakota State over anybody in FCS. There are other dynamics to consider in the playoffs because they've been on the road a lot. But they have a running game that's very impressive with their linemen driving, blocking. I really like the way they played in Sacramento last week, at least in the first half. Second half, a passing team at Sacramento State came back into the game. We will see what happens. Number 3 seed, James Madison University. They look loaded in their first run at an FCS title. The defense shut down a scoring offense against their competition last week. Cole Johnson is playing like a top-tier quarterback, and I believe they're moving into the Division I next year, so that might be their final run at a title in the FCS. Cole Johnson is playing like a top-tier quarterback. They have a young O-line. They have a lot of challenges facing a Montana defense that's built to confuse you. They throw an array of blitz, or as some people say, exotic blitz. Montana does give up big yardage at times when you throw the ball downfield, and James Madison has the ability to score through the air. But this is a tough team. James Madison is a slight favorite to beat Montana, and they're going to have to do it with their passing game because the running game is hard to run against them. When I think about this too, I love the fact that Montana State, Sacramento State, and Eastern Washington came out of the Big Sky. They've all been battle-tested. Would not be surprised at all that Montana knocks off James Madison University in this game. Just a thought. Number 2 seed, Sam Houston. They're the number... Well, some people have a number 1 or 2. I'm going to put them right now at number 2 because I'll tell you why in a little bit. But when I think about this team, they're a very sound football team, and Sam Houston State should be able to get some key fourth quarter stops and score maybe late in the game to get a win. But when you think about it, they have a good defense, and defense will help you win championship. They had a game last week, an electric offense they faced, and they came out with a 49-42 win. So they can score high-scoring games too. But you can't get into a high-scoring game as you get closer and closer to the championship. I think the Bearcats have a more favorable matchup in the quarterfinals against a run-heavy Montana State. With the win, the semifinals will be another home game against South Dakota State on its third straight long road trip against number 5 Villanova. The South Dakota State, when you think about these teams, running teams can go far because the weather's going to be becoming inclement, and having quarterbacks throw for 300 yards is not going to be as easy. So the toughest matchup in the 7 remaining teams for Sam Houston is James Madison and his passing attack. But I'm telling you, if you can run the ball, you have a chance to advance because the weather's not going to be great, and running teams don't have to worry about the turnover as much as a passing team. The number 1 seed that I have in the FCS, now that Sacramento State's been eliminated, they were upset last week at home by South Dakota State. I'm going to go with the North Dakota State Bison. This team is like the sunshine. They're always there. They've been the last 3 games since losing to South Dakota State. The rushing attack has found a dominant run from quarterback Cam Miller, is operating very well out of the backfield. And the defense has been one of the best in the subdivision all season long in the FCS. They have the most favorable quarterfinal game against East TSU. And the semifinal game coming up against James Madison or Montana would be a great game. But I like the way they can run the football also. And when you think about it, the Bison are riding high all the way yet to another championship. They play like champions every single year. They've been doing it for about 25 years now. And they really are a top team in the FCS. It's hard to figure out how to play against a team that's been there year in and year out. It's nothing new to them. They're like the New England Patriots of the FCS. When you are younger cornerbacks ready to defend elite wide receivers, whether it's James Madison or Sam Houston State, Miller's good and is big when it comes to North Dakota State. They won't be able to run the ball for 200 yards in 1.5, but they may be able to do it over time. 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They have an All-American tight end, Noah Grandoff, is having a surgery on his lower left leg, so he's going to be out of that game. Wide receiver Christian Watson is week to week with a hamstring injury. So the Bison, they're favored to win, but they aren't exactly clear of big question marks, and that's why I say they have to run the ball and lean on their offensive line to carry them far into the FCS playoffs. I love what the FCS is doing for anyone that questions whether they're doing it the right way or the wrong way. Some people say Division I, we have not enough teams. Some people say 4 teams are enough to decide the national champion. The FCS starts with 24 teams, and it gives everyone on the outside looking in a chance to claim a national championship. And they get a chance to do it. So I give them a lot of praise that they added more teams into the mix. And you can't just sit back and get your top 4 teams. And sometimes those top 4 teams get in there based on reputation. So 24 teams started. We have 8 teams left. And I think about how important it is to get teams in schools from all over the country to be excited about it. That's what I love about it. 24 teams to 16 to 8 to 4, then the national title game. I'm not saying the FCS is going to go to 24 teams. Maybe 12 is enough. But football is football and school is school. So what's wrong with having them in the FCS or the FBS follow the FCS is doing? Division I AA, they do it right. They get more teams a chance to win. And at the end of the day, isn't that what everybody wants? Just a chance to show that you're the best team in college football and no one has to vote you in number 1 or number 2. If you pick 24 teams, chances are you'll find out who's going to be the top team in the country because you get to play for it. And I think at the end of the day, that's all people really want. They just want a chance to play for the national championship. Another thing I love about the FCS, what they've done, and I think they've done it very well, they don't have a neutral site. We look at all of the bowl games that are happening, that are coming up in the next few weeks, all the way into the New Year's Day games and then the national championship games. If you look at those games, they're all on neutral sites. What the FCS does is they allow teams to play a home game. That assures a large crowd. That also prevents teams from having to travel across the country for 2,000 miles or 3,000 miles away. So it makes it more exciting for that region and that team that hosts a home game to play well and get into the playoffs. Imagine if Alabama and Cincinnati were played in Alabama, or if they were played at the home of Cincinnati. What that would do for that city. That would be amazing. Also, if Michigan or Georgia were to play the game in Ann Arbor, or if they were to play the game down in Athens, Georgia. Imagine the atmosphere of that environment, and people might say, well, that wouldn't be fair because you would give one team the home field advantage. But isn't that the case anyway? If you win your home games, you have home field advantage. I think it makes it much more exciting because when you watch some of the bowl games and even some of the conference championship games, I did not see sold-out stadiums. The ACC was not a sold-out crowd. The Pac-12 had a sellout down in Las Vegas, and the SEC had a sold-out crowd. The Big Ten had a sold-out crowd, and the Big 12 had a sold-out crowd, but the ACC did not sell out. And the Mountain West between San Diego State, it was not a sold-out stadium either. So that's something that you got to look at. You're not always going to have a sold-out stadium, but you do have a chance for teams to come in and compete and win a championship, or at least compete for a championship. And that's what I've always liked about having teams with a chance to play a game at home and get the crowd behind them. Imagine the crowd behind you and the stadium's loud. It makes a big difference when the stadium's loud, and that's what you get when you have a home team. So the FCS does it right by allowing a team to host a game as opposed to making them go on the road and decide it that way. So keep that in mind when you look forward to it. And I wish everybody nothing but the best. Now I'm going to say, are you ready for some basketball? Of course you are. NBA style. As we come to a close tonight on a beautiful day and evening in Northern California, Friday, December 10th, NBA matchup, Sacramento Kings. They're on the road at the Charlotte Hornets. Their game is already live underway. You have the Dallas Mavericks at the Indiana Pacers, and that game is live, already underway. Brooklyn is at Atlanta. Kevin Durant goes down to Atlanta to take on Trae Young. That game is live, actually being shown on ESPN, so it should be a three-point shooting contest down in Atlanta. Can't wait to see the highlights for that one. The New York Knickerbockers, they're going up into Canada, across the Canadian border in the beautiful city of Toronto. That game is already alive. The New York Knickerbockers on the road in Toronto tonight. It's amazing Canada only has one team. I really thought it was great when they had an East Coast and a West Coast team when the Vancouver Grizzlies were up in Vancouver, British Columbia. But they moved down into the United States. It's all fair in love and war. Another great game because Houston's been playing good basketball lately. The defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, they're at the Houston Rockets. The game already tipped off at 5 o'clock p.m. And again, Houston, they've been playing some good basketball of late. Don't know if they'll have enough to knock off the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. And then we have Cleveland. This is for you. The Cleveland Cavaliers. They're up against the Big Cat in Minnesota. That game already tipped off at 5 o'clock p.m. The Big Cat may be doing his thing in Minnesota tonight. We have the Detroit Bad Boys down in New Orleans. And the Pelicans at 5 p.m. tip-off having a tough go at it. They can't get Zion Williamson healthy. And he's the marquee player down for New Orleans, but have missed a lot of seeing him play for NBA fans. The Los Angeles Lakers, man, they got had by Memphis, but a lot of people do. Memphis is a good team. And the Lakers got beat by double digits. That's not a good sign when you are the Los Angeles Lakers, and especially for everybody that wants to find a reason to blame somebody. But OKC Thunder, if you want to win, remember, OKC has beaten them before. Twice. I don't see them doing it 3 times. I mean, I really don't. If they do, there's going to be a lot of more shakeup down in Los Angeles a lot sooner than later. But they've gotten them twice on the road and at home. And we'll see if the Lakers have the moxie to get a win. That game's already underway. And then a game tonight tips off at 7 p.m. Kind of must-see basketball. The Boston Celtics at the Phoenix Sun, defending Western Conference champion. Phoenix Sun, what a great game. That should be all fair and level. Where I know everybody's looking forward to seeing if Steph Curry can break the record. And the Golden State Warriors will be playing tomorrow in Philadelphia, a 5:30 p.m. tip-off on ABC Sports. He needs 9 to tie and 10 to break the record. I don't think he'll get it on that game against Philadelphia, but he'll probably knock down 5. And then as you trace Golden State, they play Indiana, over in Indianapolis. That's going to be Monday, the 13th. Chances are he could break it then in Reggie Miller's old house. Game's going to be on NBA TV. I would love to see if they held him off a little bit, Steve Kerr, and have him do it in New York against the Knicks on TNT. That's just me hoping for the theater of what can happen. It's all fair and love and war. Everybody, please stay safe. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, You sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. And he would say, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? All he would say, I'm so pretty, I'm so handsome, I can't possibly be beat with all these big C burgers. It makes me land on my feet, that's why I'm always rumbling, rumbling. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.